New business is breathing life into a nearby town that's been struggling for decades, Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, once a bustling city in the 1950s and 60s, then declined big time. We've been tracking its progress, and tonight in the cover story, Courtney Hall, WGN, reports there's new hope coming.
City leaders say Gary is at a turning point and young business owners are leading the way. Well, I spoke with a few of them who tell me about the challenge and the opportunity.
Welcome to our brewery. This is actually where all the magic happens.
This is 18th Street Brewery, owned by Drew Fox.
This is the beginning process of beer making, pretty much.
In just its first year, this brew pub has become wildly popular, serving up lunch and producing limited edition craft beers.
Normally we get about 200 or 300 people waiting in line from 4 or 5 in the morning.
Not just great news for a businessman, but a shot in the arm to a city plagued by abandonment, Gary, Indiana.
I lived here for 11 years. I just saw what was happening to the city itself. You know, a lot of business were still leaving Gary, Indiana, not really investing in the city.
Chicago newlyweds Nuco and Cami Villanueva are following Fox's lead.
I feel like Gary would be a really good spot for anybody who might want to branch out.
I feel like it's just getting the word out, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think just a lot of people don't know much about Gary, or the little that they know is kind of negative. But it wasn't until I actually we drove up here and drove around. We had a beer at the brewery, and checked out the lake and the parks, and I was like, wow, like why wouldn't anybody want to be here? It's beautiful.
They bought an old doctor's office just a few doors down, and they're turning it into a tattoo shop this spring.
I'm all for communities that have the power of coming together and starting from scratch.
Being located in Gary's Miller Beach area really helps.
Miller has been hanging tough for a while. The brewery was a natural fit. That was going to take off no problem because there's already a pretty good population down there. You're by the beach, you're by the train station.
But city leaders like Joe Van Dyke are tasked with cleaning up the rest of Gary too. There are 7,000 to 8,000 vacant buildings, many of them downtown.
It is such a symbolic thing when you tear down an empty building. It hits quality of life, it hits beautification, economic development, public safety.
The city marked a major accomplishment just months ago in tearing down the old Sheridan.
It completely changed downtown. It was the most prominent building you could see from the highway. And it was really symbolized Gary's blight and some of its troubles.
That blight goes on for block after block.
This was all torn down within the last 2-3 months. And now we're in the process of the fun part, which is building it back up again. And that's the old post office. There's a group from the University of Chicago called Place Lab that are looking into repurposing that space. And there's going to be a data center that we're putting in there.
And Gary is a city that's lacking the basics.
There's no furniture store. There's no grocery store, no movie theater, there's no car dealership.
Deirdre Campbell heads the Department of Commerce.
Gary is full of opportunity, but you have to be willing to come in on the ground floor. You've got to kind of have an urban pioneer outlook. But the return on investment potentially is phenomenal.
And that's how these entrepreneurs think of themselves, pioneers betting on an underdog.
I would like to see a coffee shop where people come and gather and talk about different events that are going on in the area.
I like to see more young entrepreneurs come in with a solid business plan. If the city and the residents support it, it can definitely flourish. I think that has to be a key factor.
So what's next for Gary? Since 2012, city officials have worked with students at the University of Chicago's Harris School of Public Policy to create a blueprint to rebuild downtown. That plan is set to be released to the public later this month. Back to you.